Well, hello there, motherfuckers. And let's talk a little bit about Survivor Series. Now, I remember Survivor Series was a very important event. It was always an event that was considered to be one of the big four. It was the Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, SummerSlam, and Survivor Series would round out the year as being, the big show. There was always something that was happening on that show. Probably the best Survivor Series of all time was 1998, undoubtedly, with one of the biggest swerves that catapulted The Rock into superstardom. Of course, that was written by Vince Russo, a man that many people have villainized over the years. So, now you take a look and keep that in mind for anyone who was there to see Survivor Series 1998. Keep that in mind, how great that show was and the quality and the build to that show. And, the fact that the title was vacant, just how much excitement was surrounding it, the stars that were in that tournament, the Deadly Game tournament for the WWE title. You had Stone Cold, you had The Undertaker, Kane, Mick Foley, The Rock. And now you fast forward 20 years. It's been 20 years. So appropriate. I'm actually so happy for the benefit of this video that the Deadly Game Tournament Survivor Series is exactly 20 years old now. Because it really shows just how far they have fallen since then. That was like the peak right there. The peak of Survivor Series. One of the greatest moments in WWE history. And now look what we have. What are the differences? Well, first, the Survivor Series, the title is not on the line. There's not a single championship that will be defended at this event. What is the concept of this show? Well, it's been relegated to being about, the culmination of big storylines and, feuds that have been going on for a while. And instead of it being a show that kind of rounds out the year, it's just a throwaway pay-per-view. And what's the concept for this show? Is it about filling a vacant title? No. What is it about? It's about just doing Raw versus SmackDown matches. And when you think about this whole concept and just how, stupid it is, first of all, because it's the same company. It's not like, a different company, like, invading, it's nothing like that. It's not like, oh, God, I don't want to use this example, but, because I've used the WWE versus WCW invasion angle. Of course, they had already purchased WCW, but, at least, like, sometimes they would do, like, Ring of Honor, like, Dragon Gate. They would put these promotions together, so, there was a real company versus company thing, but it's not even company versus company. This is brand versus brand. They're not even selling it as a different company. It's the same show, and the funny thing is, it's a lot of the same wrestlers that were representing the opposing brand during previous years. And they've been doing this now for 3 years straight, this concept. Ever since they've done the second brand extension. And the thing is, where we really have to come into it now, we're about like 2.5 years into the second brand extension. They already realized what a failed concept this is. They tried to double up on the number of pay-per-views. Thank God they cut that in half. And they only do, both brands on each pay-per-view that they do. Remember that? Like, just a few months ago, it was like, 2 shows per month, and it was becoming maddening. Like, we could, I think it's been out almost about a year now since they've done it, more than just a few months. Thank God they got that under control. But now they have a lot of other problems. You look at these shows, and there's no stars on them. Now, there's stars on, there's about, 1 or 2, big stars on each show. On Raw, you have Elias and SmackDown, you've got Daniel Bryan, and, that's the other thing we're going to get into. So I guess you could kind of think about this as like my old school predictions videos, and I was thinking about doing a predictions video, but I decided, you know, I'm not gonna really do predictions videos like I used to unless I'm really in the mood to do one and the card is interesting in some way. But like, I am not gonna, what's the point of doing predictions? You know, we all know kind of how this is going to go. You know, they're going to, like, try to make it even out. And then probably in, like, the last match, they're going to have one brand go over the other. You know, like, and it's just, who fucking cares? First of all, at least last year, not that it was good, you know, but they did the invasion type of thing. And, you know, and they didn't even bother to do that this year. They only did it on one show, and then they didn't even return the favor because it would have been so predictable. But this time around, what they decided to do was, you know, just do it once on Raw. Then on SmackDown, they decided to flip the champion, the WWE Championship. And, you know, people are losing their minds over this. They're saying Daniel Bryan doesn't deserve to have the championship. They're going crazy. They're saying, oh, this is an unbelievable match. You know, Daniel Bryan versus Brock Lesnar. Brock is going to destroy him. And, like, the funny concept is I'm sitting there and I'm saying, like, AJ Styles, is that any more believable? Like, so we were all fine with that last year. And to make it even more ridiculous, people were fine with Finn Balor, of all people. You know, there was almost a point where they were going to do a Finn Balor versus Brock Lesnar match. And it was like, I think might have been scheduled for SummerSlam, or they were toying around with the idea at the very least. And people really wanted to see that match. And by people, I mean the smarks. The only people that are left watching this product, and that is very, very few. So people wanted to see that. And now, you know, and I thought Daniel Bryan was an indie darling. And I had said on a number of occasions that, you know, he was probably the only one. And, you know, I do like AJ Styles. It's just that this title run has been absolutely fucking horrible. And that's the other thing. I see people praising the title run. You know, to say the title run is bad wouldn't be an insult to AJ Styles if that's what you're worrying about. The title run involves, what has AJ been doing since he's been champion? How have they booked him? How have the storylines been? And it's been fucking terrible. So, you know, what are we going to lie and say because we like AJ Styles that the title run was good? No, it wasn't. It was the same thing with CM Punk. He was the champion for like 400 plus days. I think even longer than AJ Styles. Yeah, it was longer than AJ Styles. The guy held the whole entire title from Survivor Series of 2012 all the way up into the Royal Rumble of 2013. Did I say 2011 Survivor Series, or did I say 2000? Well, he held it throughout 2012, the whole entire year, completed it out without losing it. And that title run wasn't good either. And as you guys know, I'm a big fan of CM Punk. And I thought the guy did it the hardest job he possibly could, just like I'm sure AJ Styles did the best he could under the given circumstances. But it was time to get the title off of the guy, because it's just something fresh was needed. I mean, honestly, if I'm going to watch these shows to, you know, entertain you guys with videos, I'm going to have to at least say, like, something fresh has to happen. If, you know, and when they did write a storyline, it was completely fucking awful. That the Samoa Joe things, where all Joe wanted to do was raid AJ's fridge, basically. I mean, what was going on in their heads? You know, it's like they wanted to write a storyline, but they half-assed it. And, you know, now that and I have to ask the question to any smarks that might be watching this, and you're like a big pro WWE fan, why are you so angry that Daniel Bryan has won the championship? Isn't it good that it's something fresh, that it's something new? You wanted to see the same match. I know what it was. Smarks wanted to see AJ Styles get revenge on Brock Lesnar. That was not going to happen. There was no way that was going to happen. They would have done like a disqualification, or probably, if they weren't going to do that, they would have probably just had AJ lose again in another hard-fought battle. But this concept of where people want to talk about realism all of a sudden. You guys want to talk about realism out of the clear blue sky. When you were talking about Finn Balor and Brock Lesnar a few months ago, when that actually might have been a realistic possibility, you people wanted to see that match. You wanted it. You were asking for it. And now all of a sudden you got a problem with Daniel Bryan. You know, you would think that even though it was random as fuck, that the way how they did it was a last minute thing, and they probably wanted to do it sort of as a way of just kind of making it a surprise like they did last year. You know, like anything could happen. But, you know, just like not building up to it. And maybe it was like, maybe they just wanted to finish off the year of 2018 of just doing something significant with Bryan. Because the thing is, this should have been a Cinderella story for Daniel Bryan. The guy came back, was cleared by the WWE doctors, which was something that wasn't getting done for like 1 or 2 years. And Bryan was chomping at the bit to get back. People wanted to see the guy get back more than anything. They also wanted to see him to get into a feud with The Miz. They prolonged, you know, how long it took him to get into that feud with The Miz. But I'm saying he came back. He came back, gave hope to all these wrestlers with all, you know, career-threatening concussions that you could probably maybe come back from something as debilitating as Daniel Bryan's situation. You know, right from the offset, you know, if he was going to have a feud with The Miz, they should have made sure that The Miz was champion at that time. So Daniel Bryan could return and take the title off The Miz and be the world champion, coming back, winning the belt. Kind of like what they did for Triple H when he came back from his torn quadricep. You know, like one of those stories, coming back and just having that fairy tale story. You know, it would have been good for something where they could have killed 2 birds with 1 stone. They could have had a feel-good moment for Bryan returning, and they could have had a great feud with The Miz. Instead, we got a shitty feud with The Miz, a shitty feud with Kaz, with Big Cass, and for some reason, I don't know what happened, they just released Kaz, like making like it was his fault, even though the guy had a lot of promise. You know, they just so many negative connotations surrounding the Bryan return. You know, he returned with a pointless tag match at WrestleMania, and you know they wasted it, and like it was even in Miz's promos. That I don't know if it was written into it or whatever it is. You know, The Miz even said, like, what have you done since you've returned? And it was like, if you even need to ask that question in a promo, it's time that the writers start changing things around and start saying, hey, you know what, since Daniel Bryan's gotten back from injury, you know, we got this over star here and we haven't done, you know, fucking nothing with them. So, you know, they slapped the title on him. It's totally random, but whatever, you know, and they turn him heel. But for some reason, instead of like people saying, well, at least they did something with Bryan, like I'm saying, at least they did something with him. I like the guy, you know, he deserves whatever, you know, he has coming to him. That's positive. And certainly being champion is a positive thing in any of these wrestlers' careers. You know, getting a chance to be anywhere close to the main event is always, you know, something positive for them. So, you know, everyone starts fucking turning on him this week and just fucking bashing the shit out of him. And I don't understand why. Like, is it that you just wanted to see AJ's boring ass title reign go on forever? That you wanted to see AJ beat Brock? You know, and just like in a match that the result would have never happened. Like I said, it would have either been a no contest or it would have just been Brock going over again. So I don't know what the case may be. I'm saying I think it'll be an interesting match for a card that really doesn't excite me all that much. You know, and plus talking about injuries, headed into this show, you could see that half the wrestlers that were going to be scheduled for are not there. Becky got a concussion. Alexa Bliss, one of their big women stars, is not even competing. She didn't even get to compete at Evolution, their first ever women's pay-per-view, because of her concussion. All these women are concussed. Like I says, right now, we've got people with 3 concussions right now. Zelina Vega, we've got Alexa Bliss, and we've got Becky Lynch is the latest out of the bunch. So it's just horrifying, and it's just showing that every single year that Survivor Series rolls around, it's always a bad show. Like what they did to Jinder Mahal at the last minute, where they had Paul Heyman bury him on an episode of Raw, saying he wasn't worthy of facing Brock Lesnar. And then they throw AJ into the mix. You know, oh, because the Smarks had complained, and that was like an appeal or something like that to the Marks. They wanted to, you know, appease them in a certain way, or I mean, just, and now like plagued by injuries, and you know, but I'm saying at least with the match with Daniel Bryan, Brock Lesnar, at least that Daniel Bryan has that MMA background. At least he's got that, so at least to me he's a more viable contender to have a match with Brock, even though Brock is way bigger than him. I'm not saying it's a very realistic match, but it's more realistic than Finn Balor. It's more realistic than AJ Styles. So there you go. I mean, and aside from that, I mean, what do you want to talk about in this card? Ronda Rousey versus Charlotte. If there were maybe stakes to this match and it wasn't just brand supremacy, I mean, that is such bullshit. Does anybody even think about that? Just how worthless this show is when you think of that. Nothing's on the line, that all these matches are being contested under. It is just who, you know, oh, the Raw champion beat the SmackDown champion. That's all it is, and there's no storylines at all. First of all, they only had 2 weeks of build for this, and you can see just how lame it is. Daniel Bryan and Brock Lesnar have not been face to face. The first time they're ever going to be face to face is going to be at the pay-per-view. Didn't even cut a promo on Brock, mind you. It was just last minute. Threw the title on him. We're switching the match. So I guess AJ is not even going to be at the show. I didn't even realize, someone was saying during my SmackDown review, how come I didn't mention Jeff Hardy? Well, because I don't watch the whole entire show, I didn't even realize that he was even on the show. I thought maybe they might have put AJ in that place once he wants a title. I guess not. So I guess AJ's just not going to be on the fucking show. Just like what they did with Jinder Mahal, you know, last year. Just, he's just going to sit this one out because he lost. So they're going to have, you know, the you know, whatever it was, the face that runs the place, or whatever the fuck he could say, you know, he says, the house that AJ Styles built, he ain't going to be there. So their main guy ain't even going to be on this show. And Naka Murphy cuts a promo on SmackDown talking about how Seth Rollins, who buried their match on Raw by saying, oh, I'm not even going to think about Sunday, I'm worried about tonight. And Naka Murphy even says in this promo, you know, he wasn't even thinking about me. Exactly, like, and I get it, it's an injury, so they had to do a last minute thing, but, you know, there was no story there with, like, Ronda Rousey getting any redemption or trying to get into the building, you know, on SmackDown. All it was just, you know, Becky Lynch just basically saying, oh, Charlotte, you could take my spot. And after all those years, I mean, all those months of hatred and Becky Lynch being jealous of Charlotte and everything, and they're hugging each other. They hugged it out on SmackDown. And all of a sudden now we're just going to have a match with Charlotte. And like I said, I'm sure the match is going to be good. Rousey has proven herself to be a good worker. Charlotte, one of the best women's wrestlers on the roster. I think we're actually going to get a better match now with Charlotte versus Ronda Rousey. But the thing that fucking kills it, I mean, is look at all these random ass matches. And then you take a look at AOP versus Sheamus and Cesaro. This random-ass tag team Survivor Series match where I don't even know how it works. You have all these fucking teams and they're just going to pick like one member of each tag team. So, you know, you're going to have like Carl Anderson and like Xavier Woods like what the fuck is this shit? Like, what a fucking horrible ass fucking show this is going to be. It's going to be a fucking mess. It's going to be all over the place. You're going to have like 1,000 things going on, and it's just, and nothing's basically on the line. Like okay, so it's like tag champs versus tag champs. You could at least make the argument that, okay, that's interesting, but how about the tag team Survivor Series match? What's even the fucking point of that match? Most of those teams, they don't even have an issue with one another. You know, like, all of that was removed, and, like, okay, you could at least say that maybe, you know, Smarks don't care about storylines, but I was going to say maybe you could even say that at least with AJ and Brock, it's just going to be a return match from last year. You know, I'm not even going to go that far in advance and say that, because the line of thinking for the Smarks is not that advanced. Like, oh, we wanted something with story. No, you just wanted to see AJ beat Brock, which wasn't even going to happen. And if you thought that that was going to happen, please. So, you know, there you go. I mean, there's your Survivor Series in a nutshell. Speaking of a nutshell, it's a bunch of fucking nut jobs bashing Daniel Bryan. There's your build, basically. There's your build for the show. People hate Bryan now. What happened to the Yes Movement? What happened to booing Rey Mysterio during Royal Rumble 2014? What happened to everybody loving Bryan? Everyone wanted Bryan to come out of retirement. They finally give the guy the title, and you shit all over him. I mean, I don't know what it is. I guess because there was definitely more people watching during that time. Not a lot, but there was more people. There was maybe like about, you know, 500,000 more people watching during that time, when it was a little bit easier for them to get that 3.0. Now it isn't. Now it's more like 2.5, you know, if they're lucky. So I guess maybe those people that liked Bryan are now gone too. So now all that's left is a bunch of, you know, AJ, you know, well, I'm an AJ Styles fan too now, but I guess maybe now this is more of the Sami Zayn crowd, you know, the real indie-loving motherfuckers. I'm just saying, I didn't expect this level of hate towards Daniel Bryan, but go ahead, look on YouTube right here. Look in the YWC. Look on the dirt sheets. People are shit-talking Bryan. They're not happy with this result. They didn't want him to get the championship. They rather the guy just, you know, be involved in basically nothing. He returned to do nothing. That's what they wanted him to keep doing. And just have AJ Styles keep, you know, having this title when he's fucking doing nothing with it. It's not advancing anybody. Like, during the whole AJ's title run, did anybody stand out? Did they make any stars? Did Naka Murphy? You know, if anything, every single person that AJ Styles wrestled moved further down the card. Like, Kevin Owens, Sami Zayn, you know, they basically were in obscurity after wrestling AJ. And by no means is this AJ's fault, but I'm just saying, like, the title reign that they put together for him. I mean, you see every single person, you know, whether it was Naka Murphy or Samoa Joe, they made no stars out of this. You know, they put AJ over, but was AJ any more over by beating these guys? No. Because, first of all, the people he wrestled, no one even cared about except for your indie smarks. You know, that's the only people, that This Is Awesome crowd. Those are the only ones saying that this was a great... I'm looking online where people are asking, oh, how would you rate AJ's title run? I'm seeing it on Instagram. Oh, A+. A+. I mean, my God, if this is anything more than an F or a D at the very most, I mean, you've got to be out of your fucking mind. I mean, if this was undoubtedly one of the worst years, and it's only fitting that Survivor Series be capped off with an equally horrible card. I mean, you know, this has got to be the least built-up show out of any of the major shows. I mean, you know, people like to say how Backlash was one of the worst shows they've ever seen. I think that was a great exaggeration. It by no means was a good show, but it wasn't the worst ever. I've seen worse. And that Backlash, I think, had more build-up than this show. In all honesty, at least with Backlash, there was more weeks of something. This just like after Crown Jewel happened. Oops, I'm not supposed to say that, right? It's just, you know, that was 2 Fridays ago, right? That's basically, I think, what the name of the show is now. 2 Fridays ago in parts unknown. In an undisclosed location on some section of the globe on planet Earth. You know, we're going to see that on the network, right? It's going to say the date, and it's going to say, you know, that Friday on planet Earth. That was the name of the show, right? So somewhere on a landmass surrounded by a body of water. That's the name of that fucking show. I mean, not only will they not say where it is, but they won't even say the name of the fucking show. Anyway, like 2 weeks from removed from that, and we're already having another pay-per-view. They put all their build into that show and completely forgot about Survivor Series. So I completely forgot about it too. I thought that maybe at least the show was going to be at the very end of November. Like, you know, like maybe it was going to be, you know, the week after Thanksgiving. No, it's actually this Sunday. There you go. Anyway, I thought I'd treat you a little rant. So that's what I did here tonight. Hope you guys all enjoyed it. If you did, hit the thumbs up. If you think I'm a filthy Daniel Bryan fan, hit a thumbs down and tell me that to my face. Or at least here on the internet. My face is right here, though. And subscribe if you haven't already. Hit the bell so you get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. Check out some of the content I have posted here. And thank you for watching, guys. This has been your YWC champ. And I'm signing out.